Greetings, my fellow creative bisons and voyagers of the internet. I am Hunter Seminole. I am a fourth year BFA visual arts student at NDSU. Currently, as I am recording this video, I'm also part of the SODAA SODA tutor team. And basically, I'm just going to walk you through the basics of Illustrator. I use Illustrator quite a bit, and I use it because of the vectors and all of the fascinating editing options that Illustrator has in their interface. So I'm going to walk you through kind of what I know as basic knowledge, so hopefully that you can just kickstart your creative endeavor. To begin something, we're at the home screen of Illustrator now. We have Create New, so we're going to begin a new project. Go to Create New. We have a lot of different presets, as you can see, for different mediums. The option to edit the dimension of the artboard that you're going to be working on. So as you can see, 11 by 14, maybe I want this to be, so it'll be 13 inches by 18 inches. As you can see, we have a few different levels of measurements going on. So we'll go to create, and now we have created a project and we have a blank slate to go from. Now, but for my tutorial, I'm not going to be working in this space that I just created. Instead, I'm going to be going to a file where I've already have my curriculum laid out for you so that you know exactly what we're going to be covering. And as you can see, maybe just take a moment to peruse through this list, but these are all the tools that I'm going to teach you. I'm also going to teach you some key tricks here and there. Things that you do with your key commands to help ease the process as well that aren't on this list, but these are just the tools that are in interface that we are going to cover. So I'm actually going to close that. So to begin, we have a selection tool, direct selection tool, and hand tool. These tools are going to be used to select things and then help us move around our interface. So we have a selection tool, which is going to be loaded right up in here at this icon. And this is just to select a general thing, right? If I want this word, it's going to select that whole text. It's going to select that text. I have control of that whole text. Okay. So going to direct selection tool, here is the main difference between those tools. With the direct selection tool, we're going to be selecting directly instead of just holistically like we're doing with the normal selection tool. And what I mean by this is that with my direct selection tool, if I select these points, it's going to select only the points that I hovered over, and I can manipulate those points, while the other points in this object stay the same. Right? Now, the hand tool, this is a nice little way to pan through your workspace. You just click and drag, and you can just move around however you please with the hand tool. One thing that you want to start out with is making sure that your workspace is working for you and what you're trying to achieve. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the window panel. So if we go up in here, window, we have all of these different tools right here for us to find. If we're having trouble far in our right, we can just go to window and we can find it within here. So another thing we want to look at is workspace. We want our workspace to work for us. So as you can see, when we go to window, we go to workspace. By default, when you freshly open Illustrator, I believe it sets you as essentials. When you go to essentials, you have only one column on the right side of our. I would recommend that you begin, if you're learning Illustrator, to do Essentials Classic. Okay, so now that we have, a small understanding of our interface and how to manipulate and navigate through our workspace, we have a bunch of tools to go through, but I'm going to be focusing on tools that create vectors, okay? And to begin that, we're going to be looking at the lines, pen, curvature tool, and width tool to kickstart off our adventure into vectors. Alrighty. Right, so we are going to be looking at the pen tool to begin with. Now the pen tool is pretty basic stuff. We don't get curvatures, we get nice, clean lines. And then I can go anywhere with this. I can create any shape with this pen tool. And now, if I want to not make this into a line, I can connect my stray points. See, this point right here is stray. This is stray point. Okay, and then this is the other stray point. So if I try and bring, I can click this, right? If I see this O pop up on my mouse, that means that these can be connected. So now this is its own shape. It's a complete shape. It's not a line anymore. It is now a shape. Right now we only have stroke selected. We only have a stroke on the side, and you can manipulate the size of the stroke by using this. You can always get a precise stroke size that you want. And then you have a fill. You have all these different options for fill. So maybe I want this to be white. Okay, now let's move on to the curvature tool. So when we're using the curvature tool, it won't be an inherent straight line like the pen tool. It will be curvaceous, right? And if I do want to make a point, double click it, and then I get a point. Say I don't want that point anymore, I double click it, it's rounded again. Double click it, point it again. So moving on from the curvature tool, I'm going to be showing you another trick to help you work with lines. So as you can notice with lines, they have this blocky end. You have blocky tips at the end, right? Say we want something with more stylized. We can go up here and we have a couple different presets for the width of our line. We can pick one, we can flip the way it's moved, right? So we have these presets that we can use. We can go and use the width tool. Now when we have the width tool, we have complete control over the width of the stroke that we're manipulating. So instead of this blocky end, we can come in and we can narrow that out to a point, right? Now we have a more stylized line. All right, moving forward from the width tool, say we want to turn the line that we made a little bit more widened into a shape of its own. So we are going to be we have our widened out line. We're going to go up, object, and then we're going to press expand appearance. And now this line is no longer a line, it is now a shape. Now a key trick that I'm going to share with you, because we have recently turned this into a shape, it is no longer a line. If we want to go back, undo that choice, we press Control Z. And it will go back and undo the moves, right? As you keep pressing Control Z. We're now at the point where instead of being a shape, it is now back into a widened line. And that was done by pressing Control Z. If we want to go forward, we press Control Shift Z. Over here, we have the rectangle tool. Now, when we click and drag, we're going to get any form. But say we want our square to be, perfect. We can wait for this diagonal to show up and drag, or we can press Shift and it'll hold that perfect shape, and then we can scale it however we want to. Right now our fill is empty, so we are going to we're going to throw in a cyan in there. We'll throw a cyan in there. Okay, so now that we kind of have an idea of shape tools, we're going to be showing you the eraser and scissor tool. Make sure that whatever you are using the eraser tool on, you have selected. Okay, because if I don't have it selected, notice I'm not selected on anything. If I just erase, it's going to erase anything that I go over with the eraser tool. But if I have my square selected, I don't want to alter my line. Here, we'll even put it right in the middle just to show you. Notice that the line is not selected. We just can make the changes however we want. Now, say I want to include another thing to erase. I've already had this selected. I'm going to press Shift and then I'm going to click, and now that is also selected, and that is now something I can manipulate as well. And then to undo a selection out of a group that you already have selected, you just press Shift, and now notice I click the square. Now only the line is selected. Press Shift with the eraser tool, you'll get perfect either 180 degree or 45 degree cuts with the eraser. Perfect vertical cut. I can do a perfect horizontal cut. I can do a perfect diagonal cut as well. Precise cutting, scissor tool. Now the scissor tool behaves just a little bit different. It cuts open the points in the vector rather than just removing all of what's in there, right? So I'm going to use the scissor tool. I'm going to click right here. It now separated these two lines into their own thing. So we've already went over expand appearance. Now we're going to briefly go over free transform and free distort and what the differences are in those. So let's select this. Now free transform is going to be located right up in here. Free transform tool. And when I have an object selected and then I click on free transform, now I have all these different things that I can maneuver. I can transform it however I see fit. This is one way to make changes to a shape. So now let's click out of that. Another way we can do is go to Effect and go Distort, Free Transform. We can do Free Distort. And now when we go into Free Distort, we have these 4 points to manipulate our vector. And as you can notice, now that I've made this distortion, this doesn't happen with the free transform, this only happens with the free distort tool. The outline of my vector is not accurate with how the vector is being portrayed. And this is where expand appearance comes in. So I'm going to go to Object, Expand Appearance, and now the outline is now accurate. Alright, Bison Herd, that's all I'm going to cover for this video. We're running a bit long now, so we're going to cover the rest of Illustrator Basics in the next video. So we'll go over color, and then we'll go over some workflow items, and then yeah, that's the plan for right now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you tune in for the next one.